Oh God. Oh, okay. Okay, what's up everybody? My name is Natalie and you are now tuned into my YouTube channel. Today, I wanted to make a video because I was irritated all day today and it made me think a lot about life, about my attitude towards life and my attitude towards people in my life. And I began to think about the concept of growth. The last couple of months, like I've been super hyper into the idea of like growing as an individual, working on myself, working on my journey, whether that be spiritually, work-wise, personal growth, like everything. Just thinking about what it means for me to be growing as a human and like what that looks like. I've just been thinking about the gains that I've had and the setbacks that I've had in that journey. And today I was just thinking while I was at work, like, growth is a myth. And it's kind of clickbaity because I don't fully think that growth is a myth, but I think that self-growth and the way that we talk about growth and the way that we conceptualize growth is often incorrect and is often not realistic. Sometimes the way that we talk about growth is in terms of our actions, like our outward expressions of like how we feel and deal with situations. So those outward expressions, and we kind of label our ability to react to things outwardly in a certain way as us growing as individuals. And honestly, that's not a true marker of growth. Growth and change can be hand in hand, but just because you're growing in a certain way doesn't mean that you're changing. And to actually grow in a positive direction, you have to change. It's a certain way that we need to process things to actually make a change in our life. For example, when I hear people say that they're growing, and it'll be in a situation where someone tests them or tries them and they don't go off on them like they normally would. And people will label that as, look, I didn't cuss that person out, so I'm growing as a person. Look at that. I could have responded like this, but I didn't, and I let them slide, so I'm growing. And in a way, that's taking steps to growth and like starting a positive pattern. But if you're not addressing that thing within you that makes you want to go off or makes you want to react in a certain way, like a negative way, then you're not changing those behaviors. You're not changing yourself. You're filtering yourself. Like in your head, you probably cussed them out. In your head, you probably responded the way that you in the past would have outwardly, but you just chose to keep that to yourself this time around and, you know, outwardly react in a different way. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that that is very important, and it's important to take steps to say like, hey, this is a behavior that I have that is negative, I believe, and I want to work on it in terms of the way that I express myself and deal with the people around me. And that's good. That's a step in the right direction, but it's not to be confused with actually changing that behavior. To actually change, you have to address, hey, why am I reacting like this? And what makes me want to cuss that person out? So I think that in order to actually change a behavior, you have to address it at the root. I guess an analogy that I can think of to kind of describe this is with a plant. It can be a symbol of a vice or something that we cultivate, whether it be a behavior, a characteristic, anything like that. With plants, you prune them, you cut the dead leaves off to make room for new leaves. The same thing with our lives and our vices and our characteristics. When you choose to react or not react in a certain way, it's just like pruning that plant. It's just making room for new growth and new behavior. So if you have something that's negative, the whole plant is negative. Say plant is anger. We're still watering the anger plant. And you know, when you have a situation that triggers you and you want to react in a certain way and you choose not to, it's just like pruning that plant. It looks like from the outside that you are, you know, stifling its growth and you're preventing it from blooming, but actually if you're not completely killing the plant, you are getting it prepared to grow again and to even be to flourish even more. It's the same thing with our behaviors in our life. Sometimes think that we are stifling or changing things in our lives and our behaviors, but we're actually just filtering them. And what made me think about this was in my own life, I feel like I've gotten very good at filtering the way that I think and the way that I feel outwardly. and not actually addressing like, why do I feel that way? Why am I reacting in a certain way? And actually making that next step to change it. A lot of the times we see growth as just learning how to be politically correct. Actually changing is not thinking that way in the first place and not even having a thought to react in a certain way. That's how you know that you have witnessed the fruits of the labor of growth when you see a change in yourself, and where it doesn't even trigger me to go off on you. It doesn't even trigger me to do certain things or even to think a certain way when something comes up. It's kind of an important discussion and realization to have when you are thinking about a journey to becoming a better person, a journey to growing up and going to that next level, is to really get real with yourself and to look inwardly and be like, hey, what are the things that are motivating me to be a certain way that I don't like? And how do I uproot that plant instead of just pruning it and getting it ready to grow again? It's important to uproot negative things and plant new and positive seeds and not just cultivate the vices in our lives. So yeah, that's it.